A woman turns around and finds a famous celebrity standing behind her. The two were once college sweethearts, but after graduation, the man became a top idol, while the woman became his PR team leader. The man, Tae-sung, has been the company's top idol for 10 years, never involved in any scandals. At this moment, he is volunteering in Africa, digging wells. Through everyone's efforts, water was finally found, and he attentively cares for the local children. The media heavily publicized his efforts, turning him into a beloved national figure in Korea. Despite this, Sung-kyung's world is surrounded by Tae-sung. His face is on every vehicle with wheels, every billboard on the street. During a company meeting, the leaders announce that Tae-sung is returning soon. One day, a new employee joins the company. Sung-kyung advises her not to overreact when seeing idols and asks if she has a favorite idol. As Tae-sung's return approaches, someone beside him curiously asks if there's anyone he wants to meet when he gets back to Korea. In his mind, Tae-sung recalls the moment he parted ways with Sung-kyung. Meanwhile, Sung-kyung is watching a news report about Tae-sung. Learning he'll return next month, she decides to resign before then and leaves a crying emoji on the article. Back home, she accidentally kicks the remote under the sofa, turning on the TV. A program praising Tae-sung is playing, prompting her to complain whether it's an entertainment or a glorification show. While retrieving the remote, she unexpectedly finds an old photo of her and Tae-sung making heart gestures together. She ultimately throws the photo into the trash. However, when she hears news of Tae-sung being accused of assault, she rushes to the company without even changing clothes. Her team speculates whether the rumors about Tae-sung are true, but she confidently assures them everything is fine. That evening, slightly tipsy at home, she sees on her phone that Tae-sung is returning the next day. Reflecting on the past, she marvels at how quickly time flies. The next day, Sung-kyung goes to a cafe, only to unexpectedly run into the freshly returned Tae-sung. The first thing Tae-sung does upon returning is seek her out, marking the beginning of Sung-kyung's nightmare life. During a press conference, Tae-sung seems a little uneasy under the flashing cameras, but when he spots Sung-kyung, the corners of his mouth lift into a faint smile. Throughout the Q&A session, his gaze remains fixed on her. On her way to work, she passes one of Tae-sung's posters and jokes to herself that she should move abroad just to escape his face. However, upon arriving at the company, she finds that Tae-sung is keeping a close eye on her, monitoring her work while urging her to focus. Frustrated, Sung-kyung feels like she's on the verge of breaking down. Even during meetings with her team, Tae-sung casually tags along and encourages everyone to relax. When Sung-kyung's team makes a minor mistake, she is embarrassed, but Tae-sung reassures them and jokingly points out how Sung-kyung once made him a trending topic. Before he can explain, Sung-kyung quickly covers his mouth and drags him to the rooftop. Sung-kyung angrily scolds him, saying she's apologized countless times for what happened 6 years ago. Tae-sung retorts that some wounds can't be healed, no matter if it's 6 years, 60 years, or 600 years. He admits he still has nightmares about the incident. 6 years ago, Sung-kyung accidentally made Tae-sung the subject of a major scandal, which spiraled out of control and made him a target of public criticism. An enraged Tae-sung stormed into the company back then, shouting and terrifying Sung-kyung, who tried to hide. When Tae-sung found her, he chased her all the way to the restroom, refusing to let the matter drop. Left with no choice, Sung-kyung came out and repeatedly apologized. Tae-sung even demonstrated military exercises in an attempt to prove he wasn't mentally affected by the scandal, only to be carried off by colleagues at the door. 6 years later, after countless apologies, Sung-kyung still feels the weight of her past mistake. After work, she vents her frustrations to a reporter friend about how Tae-sung has completely disrupted her life once again. Frustrated, she wishes she could send him back to Africa. One day, during a meeting with his manager, Tae-sung notices Sung-kyung nearby. Instantly, he sits up straight and tidies his hair. Seeing her laughing and sharing snacks with coworkers, he stares intently, unable to take his eyes off her. That night, he suffers from insomnia, preoccupied with thoughts of Sung-kyung. Meanwhile, their past relationship is accidentally exposed when a new employee finds an old photo of them as a couple from their college days. Word spreads quickly among their colleagues. As Sung-kyung sits alone, She looks at the empty seat next to her and imagines Tae-sung teasing her like he always does. Despite everything, her thoughts are filled with him, much like how Tae-sung couldn't stop thinking of her. Later, Sung-kyung arrives at the office, only to have her coworkers hand her an old photo of her and Tae-sung from their college days. It turns out that the staff had discovered the photo accidentally and began speculating about their past relationship, wondering if they were secretly back together. Seeing this, Sung-kyung becomes annoyed and blames Tae-sung's return for all the chaos. When Sung-kyung calls him later, Tae-sung panics, hides the script he's reading, and hesitates to answer. In the end, he declines the call and immaturely turns off his phone, sulking like a child. Back at the office, his co-workers start gossiping again, sensing tension between the two. The next day, Sung-kyung is annoyed when Tae-sung still hasn't completed the stress test. She calls him again, and while Tae-sung smirks at the sight of her name on his screen, he once again shuts off his phone, further irritating her. Frustrated, Sung-kyung decides to take a break and treat herself to a private movie screening. As the film begins, she notices something odd. There's another person in the theater. To her dismay, it's Tae-sung, who makes the same observation about her. Both are baffled but unwilling to acknowledge each other at first, continuing their game of avoidance. Both unknowingly booked private movie screenings at the same time. Sung-kyung, annoyed at Tae-sung for ignoring her calls, tries to scold him for watching a movie instead. However, Tae-sung uses an old gesture from their dating days, signaling her to focus on the movie. This triggers memories for both of them. When the movie ends, their stubbornness resurfaces. Tae-sung attempts to leave first, but Sung-kyung stops him. She insists on discussing their past misunderstandings and even drags him to meet an old friend for clarification. Flashbacks reveal the root of their tension. 1 year ago, Tae-sung was filming when he overheard that Sung-kyung was dressed up for a blind date. Feeling jealous and distracted, he injured himself during a scene. Back in the present, their friend points out that it was all a misunderstanding caused by Tae-sung's manager not communicating properly. Hearing this, Sung-kyung teases Tae-sung for being a big dummy. The next day, Tae-sung sees news about his mother's divorce, which unsettles him deeply. At that moment, Sung-kyung calls, not to console him, but to remind him to complete the stress test form. Thinking she called because of the news, Tae-sung's competitive nature is triggered, and he challenges her to see who handles stress better. Sung-kyung even bets 3 months of her salary on the outcome, successfully distracting him from his worries. At Tae-sung's fan signing event, Sung-kyung watches him from the sidelines, silently supporting him. Observing his subtle cues, Sung-kyung knows when he's stressed. She secretly sends him a candy through her assistant to cheer him up, and seeing Tae-sung relax with the candy brings her relief. However, things take a serious turn when Sung-kyung accidentally sees Tae-sung's stress test results. It's a perfect 100, indicating the pressure. She grows increasingly concerned, especially when she notices him visibly exhausted during the event. When Tae-sung nearly collapses, Sung-kyung rushes to help him, but she trips and accidentally falls toward him. In a dramatic turn, she ends up cushioning his head with her hand just before it hits the floor. Tae-sung looks up at her, shocked by her actions. After a public mishap, Sung-kyung panics, but Tae-sung eases the tension with a dramatic countdown and a playful escape. His over-the-top antics lead to a viral photo moment, and while Sung-kyung hides at home in embarrassment, Tae-sung replays the video with amusement. The next day, Sung-kyung visits Tae-sung's poster shoot, where he greets her with a mischievous smile and suggests they recreate a trending pose together. Despite his teasing, Sung-kyung retrieves Tae-sung's stress test results, only to discover a suspiciously high score of 100%. She accuses him of faking the results to win their bet and force her to cut her salary, but Tae-sung cheekily flaunts his achievement. Later, Sung-kyung reveals her hidden concern for Tae-sung by consulting her boss, Jeong, about his stress levels. She admits she distracted Tae-sung with the bet after reading about his mother's divorce, showing her deep empathy. Jeong reassures her that Tae-sung's family matters are being handled by trusted personnel. Tae-sung's feelings for Sung-kyung become increasingly complicated. He remains deeply in love with her, but she struggles to understand his behavior, Seeking advice, Sung Kyung consults a lawyer, who suggests that if Tae-sung were truly self-centered, he wouldn't be acting in such an unusual way, hinting at the possibility that he might actually have feelings for her. This thought lingers with Sung Kyung, but she is still unsure about his intentions. Later, when Tae-sung helps Sung Kyung with her interview questions, their playful interaction leads to an awkward yet tender moment where Tae-sung accidentally reveals his emotions. This results in a confession of love, catching Sung Kyung off guard. She starts reflecting on her past interactions with Tae-sung, particularly when he was always there for her, and slowly realizes that she may have fallen for him. That night, while scrolling through Tae-sung's photos, Sung Kyung receives a call from a reporter asking if their rumored relationship is real. Her emotions overflow, and she breaks down in tears. Conflicted, she withdraws from him, trying to suppress her feelings. Later, while dining with her best friend, she struggles to avoid confronting her emotions. Meanwhile, Tae-sung, still uncertain about their relationship, runs into the lawyer again in the elevator. The lawyer probes about Tae-sung and Sung Kyung's dynamic, and Tae-sung, still unsure about his feelings, reacts with awkwardness. Later, lying in bed, Tae-sung reflects on his emotions while reading a script. The lines in the script about a romantic relationship cause him to reconsider his feelings toward Sung Kyung. The lawyer's words about their connection continue to haunt him, and he becomes increasingly frustrated, questioning what it all means for his future with her. Tae-sung becomes increasingly frustrated, unable to sleep. He continues to replay the lawyer's words in his mind, growing more upset by the minute. Meanwhile, Sung Kyung also has a restless night and arrives at work exhausted. However, news breaks about Tae-sung possibly dating the female lead of his new drama, and Sung Kyung becomes even more frustrated. The lawyer tells her that even if they are indeed together, they must deny the relationship for the sake of their public images. Sung Kyung reflects on how she's supported Tae-sung through all his career milestones. From his graduation to his recent success in his drama, she has always quietly been there. Yet, despite her feelings, Sung Kyung is deeply hurt when rumors about their relationship surface. When she calls Tae-sung to confirm the truth, he admits to the relationship, leading to her painful decision to let go of her emotions. Afterward, Sung Kyung becomes deeply opposed to addressing rumors about her romance with Tae-sung, trying to distance herself emotionally. However, during a publicity event, Tae-sung does something to grab her attention. During an interview, Tae-sung once again expresses his feelings, echoing words he once said about wanting a relationship like a friendship, comfortable and fun. This softens Sung Kyung's heart, though she struggles to admit her feelings. Later, Tae-sung stumbles upon a report Sung Kyung had written about him, listing the most dramatic moments they shared. Reading it brings back memories of their significant experiences together, and Tae-sung begins to question why Sung Kyung has been pulling away from him. Meanwhile, Yoo-seong, Tae-sung's assistant, receives a call from his girlfriend, prompting Tae-sung to ask why she likes him. Yoo-seong explains it's simply because she's curious about him, which sparks Tae-sung's own reflection on his complicated relationship with Sung Kyung. This realization pushes him to confront his emotions, though he hesitates to send a message to express how he feels. While Tae-sung grapples with his feelings, Sung Kyung has dinner with her best friend, who asks if she has romantic feelings for either the lawyer or Jiang. Sung Kyung firmly denies it, and her relationship with the lawyer is strictly professional. However, her best friend warns her that by drawing such clear boundaries, she might block herself from developing a romantic relationship. When the conversation shifts to Tae-sung, Sung Kyung becomes defensive, but her friend sees through her. Sung Kyung decides to visit the company and unexpectedly bumps into Tae-sung, who has also come to sort out his feelings. Together, they watch a scene from Tae-sung's drama. Though Sung Kyung tries to suppress her emotions, she steps out to take a call after their encounter. Tae-sung follows her, asking about her thoughts. Sung Kyung, overwhelmed by the intensity of his gaze, becomes flustered. Despite her growing feelings, she decides not to act on them immediately. Tae-sung attempting to show his affection. Noticing that Sung Kyung's shoes lack shoelaces, Tae-sung becomes oddly obsessed with fixing the problem, going so far as to develop a shoelace tying mission. After many failed attempts, Tae-sung finally succeeds when Sung-kyung wears shoes with laces, leading to a joyful moment between them. However, when Tae-sung demonstrates his skills, Sung-kyung misinterprets it as another one of his pranks. As Tae-sung becomes more determined, he starts learning from others, trying different approaches to confess his feelings. He writes heartfelt letters, but is devastated to learn that Sung-kyung dislikes handwritten notes. Meanwhile, Tae-sung becomes increasingly anxious after hearing that the lawyer has confessed to Sung-kyung. His jealousy grows, and he calls Sung-kyung, only to find that Sung-kyung is already delivering documents to him. Tae-sung recalls their first meeting at the cinema, where both were moved to tears, and he is determined to confess to Sung-kyung. Tae-sung, frustrated but still determined, practices confession lines with her assistant Yoo-seong, who helps him rehearse different scenarios, including mock confessions. Despite all his efforts, Tae-sung's plans are repeatedly interrupted, whether by Yoo-seong or unexpected events. Tae-sung arrives at a gathering where he claims to have brought a gift to strengthen his bond with Sung-kyung, but Sung-kyung remains indifferent, only offering a cold smile. As the group plays games, Tae-sung and the lawyer engage in playful challenge, but Sung-kyung soon intervenes, signaling the end of their competition. Later, Sung-kyung and the lawyer discuss the view, and the lawyer subtly expresses his feelings for Sung-kyung, leading her to realize that he likes her. Meanwhile, Tae-sung, oblivious to the developments, enjoys himself at the gathering. The next day, HR confides in Jung, revealing her feelings for Sung-kyung. Jung encourages Tae-sung to pursue his feelings, but when Tae-sung admits her love for Sung-kyung, she runs off, leaving Tae-sung confused and unsure of what to do. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Tae-sung is shocked to find his mother standing at the door. Sung-kyung, meanwhile, recalls their first meeting, realizing that she had developed feelings for Tae-sung from the start. She remembers the moment when Tae-sung confessed to her and tries to convince herself that it wasn't a serious declaration. The next day, Sung-kyung arrives at work, only to find Tae-sung absent. She's approached by the lawyer, who causes Sung-kyung to feel nervous, leading to a clumsy moment when she accidentally orders too much coffee. The scene continues with Tae-sung feeling conflicted and seeking advice from Jiang after his awkward confession to Sung-kyung. Jiang makes breakfast for Tae-sung, sensing that something may have happened after Tae-sung's mother visited, but Tae-sung dismisses it, focusing instead on his feelings for Sung-kyung. He admits that his confession was rushed, and he wants to try again when he's more prepared. At the office, Tae-sung, still grappling with his emotions, sees Sung-kyung and the lawyer together. He quickly hides and watches from behind a poster, feeling both anxious and jealous. Sung-kyung, meanwhile, reflects on the lawyer's confession and her own feelings toward Tae-sung, experiencing a mix of confusion and shyness. Later, Tae-sung vents his frustration to Yoo-seong, telling him that he's been helping the lawyer with his own confession. Yet everything feels so natural between the lawyer and Sung-kyung. He feels inadequate, especially after Sung-kyung ran off when he confessed. Yoo-seong offers some comfort, reminding Tae-sung that his feelings might not be as clear to Sung-kyung and that he still has a chance. In a moment of reflection, Yoo-seong encourages Tae-sung to find common ground with Sung-kyung by focusing on their shared interests. After checking Sung-kyung's preferences, Tae-sung gets excited when he discovers they both like chicken breast. However, Yoo-seong points out that having the same interests might lead to conflicts, and they both conclude that things are more complicated than they thought. Meanwhile, Sung-kyung is at home, thinking about the past, particularly the time when Tae-sung's romantic relationship with his co-star was made public, and she saw the photos of them together. She recalls how painful that moment was for her. The next day, Tae-sung urgently contacts Sung-kyung, hoping for a response to his confession. Sung-kyung, however, is busy in a meeting and only replies briefly to a text. The lawyer, noticing Sung-kyung's discomfort, suspects something is wrong and encourages her to go out for a meal with him. Meanwhile, Tae-sung, still waiting for Sung-kyung's call, is growing impatient. His friend Yoo-seong advises him to call again, but Tae-sung is hesitant. When Tae-sung finally receives a call, it turns out to be from Yoo-seong, not Sung-kyung. Later, As Tae-sung and Yoo-seong leave the office, they cross paths with the lawyer, who is leaving too. Both Tae-sung and the lawyer are dealing with their own emotional turmoil. Tae-sung is sad because his confession was rejected, while the lawyer thinks that Sung-kyung might not want him. The two men, though in different emotional states, share an unspoken understanding as they head in the same direction, with Tae-sung feeling frustrated after not receiving a response from Sung-kyung. To cover up his nerves, Tae-sung sends a message to Sung-kyung, telling her he'll wait for her and share the dinner location soon. Later, Tae-sung is busy with other activities and attends several movie screenings while waiting for Sung-kyung. However, when Sung-kyung rushes to meet him, she finds no sign of Tae-sung. The next day, gossip about Tae-sung starts to spread. Sung-kyung calmly tells the group of onlookers that Tae-sung had merely encountered some traveling fans and held an impromptu fan signing event. Meanwhile, Tae-sung is feeling down, hiding on a couch after being overwhelmed by the constant signing and photo requests. Yoo-seong, curious about Tae-sung's actions the previous evening, wonders if Tae-sung was planning a public confession. Tae-sung explains the situation, feeling exhausted and sore from signing so many autographs. Sung-kyung, having heard about Tae-sung's fan event, arrives at the scene, where she spots him surrounded by fans. She immediately calls Jang Yu-cheng, asking him to come pick up Tae-sung and not mention that she was the one who made the call. After ensuring that Tae-sung is taken care of, Sung-kyung leaves. She later walks down a street and notices an advertisement featuring Tae-sung, bringing back memories of their past moments together. At the same time, Tae-sung arrives at the same street corner, seeing the same ad, and recalls how the director had once told him to use a loving gaze when looking at the camera. In that moment, he remembers seeing Sung-kyung behind the lens, which inspired the tender expression in the shot. The two cross paths at the intersection, both unaware of the other's presence. Sung-kyung then goes to a restaurant where she had planned to meet the lawyer. After they enjoy some dessert, the lawyer starts to work on some documents. Sung-kyung, feeling uneasy, begins to speak up, but the tension between her and the lawyer seems to hint at unresolved feelings regarding Tae-sung. The lawyer he struggles with how to present himself, unsure whether to show his true intentions or hide behind the facade of work. Despite his efforts, he seems determined to make Sung-kyung feel something for him without pushing too hard. As Sung-kyung deals with her restlessness, she receives a message about Tae-sung's plans at a cinema, prompting her to reflect on her own heartbreak. Her friend tries to console her, suggesting that all love leads to some form of pain. Sung-kyung waits at the cinema, hoping to see Tae-sung, but when he doesn't show, he grows frustrated. He contemplates sending another message, but is interrupted when Tae-sung finally arrives. The tension between the two is palpable, with awkwardness and frustration giving way to a more direct confrontation. Tae-sung, unable to hide his feelings any longer, boldly confesses his love, urging Sung-kyung to accept his feelings and not run away. Just as Tae-sung attempts to kiss him, the door opens, and they are caught off guard by Yoo-seong. In a flurry of panic and awkwardness, Tae-sung falls, and the moment is momentarily ruined. Yoo-seong, observing the nervous tension between Tae-sung and Sung-kyung, teases them, suggesting that Tae-sung hasn't been sleeping well because of his unrequited love for Sung-kyung. Tae-sung quickly shoos Yoo-seong away, wanting some privacy with Sung-kyung. Afterward, Tae-sung becomes more earnest, asking Sung-kyung to wait for him, while Sung-kyung, now caught up in his emotions, smiles at a billboard of Tae-sung. Sung-kyung and the lawyer have an emotionally charged encounter in the office. Sung-kyung calls the lawyer over to ask about his feelings, and the lawyer acknowledges that he knows his love for Sung-kyung is unlikely to be paid back. He expresses that he's resigned to this, but asks Sung-kyung not to avoid him at work, promising that his heart will eventually heal. That evening, Sung-kyung struggles with whether or not to call Tae-sung. When she finally dials, she panics and hangs up the phone as soon as she hears Tae-sung's voice. Tae-sung calls back, and they both feel awkward. Later, Sung-kyung meets Tae-sung and explains that the sudden change in their relationship, from constant argument to something more intimate, is difficult for her to adjust to. The tension is broken when Tae-sung mentions that the lawyer had called him earlier, and Sung-kyung awkwardly brings up the issue of Tae-sung's supposed girlfriend. Tae-sung clears up the misunderstanding, reassuring Sung-kyung that there was never anything between him and the woman. Tae-sung then boldly confesses his love for Sung-kyung again, and Sung-kyung responds similarly. They begin to develop a routine of talking on the phone whenever they can, even falling asleep on calls, unable to hang up. They share their daily lives with each other, growing closer and more comfortable. Unbeknownst to them, a mysterious man is plotting revenge. As Tae-sung's personal life becomes more complicated, an incident involving a private person takes them to the top of social media trends, attracting even more attention. After receiving comforting gifts from friends and family, Tae-sung begins to feel cherished by those around him, including Sung-kyung. Later, Sung-kyung faces an unsettling situation when she is confronted by Tae-sung's aunt. The aunt, clearly disturbed and obsessed, she accuses Sung-kyung of being too excited only to lose interest once the excitement fades. The aunt's bitterness becomes evident as she forces Sung-kyung to return the necklaces he had given her, symbolizing the aunt's possessive feelings about Tae-sung. She insists that Tae-sung will eventually forget Sung-kyung. The tension escalates when Sung-kyung confronts the aunt, refusing to back down and calling out the aunt's manipulative behavior. However, Sung-kyung's confidence is shaken when she receives a disturbing message from Tae-sung's aunt, who predicts that their relationship will end soon. Despite this, Tae-sung takes Sung-kyung on a trip to the beach, where they share a quiet, intimate moment under the stars. Sung-kyung expresses her feelings of disappointment, feeling like she is constantly in the shadow of others. Tae-sung, noticing Sung-kyung's sadness, reassures her, confessing that he has been in love with her from the moment they first met. As Tae-sung takes Sung-kyung's hand, signaling his unwavering commitment to her. A man became Tae-sung's anti-fan after seeing him hosting a fan meeting with a bright smile on the day of his friend's funeral. He believed Tae-sung was mocking their deceased friend and started slandering him online. He even spread rumors that Tae-sung's mother divorced because of him. These attacks escalated to the point where Tae-sung was swarmed by reporters and fainted. Sung-kyung, worried about him, rushed into the crowd to protect and care for him. Despite her own distress, Sung-kyung held back tears while comforting Tae-sung, who noticed and tried to console Sung-kyung. Sung-kyung, concerned about Tae-sung's mental state, visited him before work to offer support and remind him not to take the negative reports to heart. Grateful, Tae-sung hugged Sung-kyung tightly. At the filming site, the director abruptly canceled the shoot due to online rumors, leaving Tae-sung feeling humiliated. On the way back, he recalled his mother taking him to a film festival years ago, and how, on that very day, his mother told him she was not fit to be a mother. That memory resurfaced when Sung-kyung encountered new allegations online, accusing Tae-sung of exploiting his volunteering in Africa for publicity. Unsure how to help, Sung-kyung sought advice from Jiang, who suggested two options: either conceal Tae-sung's relationship with his mother or reveal everything publicly. While Sung-kyung understood that revealing the truth could protect Tae-sung, she also knew it might hurt him. That evening, Tae-sung, overwhelmed by the constant stream of hate, reflected on his childhood, recalling how he once begged his mother for help, only to be ignored. He questioned why his mother brought him into the world if she didn't want to raise him. His mother, however, had claimed she never wanted to be a parent. What Tae-sung didn't know was that his mother had wanted to be there for him, but was prevented by circumstances, such as being stuck on a plane ready to take off. His mother had now returned because she was gradually losing her memory. With her mental state deteriorating, Tae-sung lashed out at Jiang when approached with advice. Misunderstanding Jiang's intentions, Tae-sung accused him of trying to exploit his relationship with his mother for personal gain. Jiang, hurt by the accusations, felt helpless. Meanwhile, Tae-sung discovered his anti-fan's identity through an online memorial for their deceased friend. Pretending to be a fan, Sung-kyung confronted the man, explaining that his friend would not have wanted revenge to be sought this way. Although the man remained defiant, Sung-kyung urged him to stop, as his actions were only bringing sadness to his late friend. Afterward, Sung-kyung received a call from Tae-sung's mother, leading her to a press conference where Tae-sung's mother publicly admitted her past mistakes. She confessed that she had left Tae-sung to pursue her acting dreams. Despite her regret, she hoped to make amends now. Sung-kyung, worried about Tae-sung's reaction, rushed to find him. However, Tae-sung, hurt that Sung-kyung had supported his mother's press conference, expressed his anger, saying he didn't need public displays of support, but personal comfort. Later, Tae-sung reflected on Sung-kyung's words, understanding that the press conference was intended to protect him. Jang also explained Sung-kyung's intentions, prompting Tae-sung to reconcile with both Jang and his mother. Finally, Tae-sung decided to face her mother, who shared her deepest regret. The day she denied Tae-sung's existence in public, she revealed that she had once tried to return to Tae-sung but was prevented by circumstances. As her memory faded, she feared leaving things unsaid. Reaching a resolution, Tae-sung and his mother reconciled. Tae-sung then sought out Sung-kyung, thanking her for being her pillar of support. The two embraced, their bond stronger than ever. That evening, they visited their late friend's grave together, making a heartfelt declaration in their friend's memory. Later, as Sung-kyung reports to her boss, questions arise about Tae-sung having a girlfriend. Sung-kyung awkwardly denies being close to him. Outside, she nervously sends Tae-sung a text, only to discover that he has sneaked up behind her. Her boss caught Tae-sung and Sung-kyung hugging and scolded them, calling it ridiculous for adults their age to act so childishly. After he left, Tae-sung couldn't believe it and defended his actions, insisting the hug was affectionate. Sung-kyung jokingly reminded him to be grateful that he didn't realize they were dating, leaving Tae-sung feeling aggrieved. That evening, the two met at home, and Tae-sung suggested going on a date over the weekend. However, Sung-kyung worried they'd be photographed and explained that in their environment, there weren't many private places to date aside from home or the office. Later, Tae-sung expressed his desire to visit Island. He had already planned the trip in detail, drawing a map only he could understand and organizing materials himself. To avoid being recognized, he prepared an entire bed full of disguises. On the plane, the two exchanged messages, convinced that no one would recognize them. Unfortunately, they were spotted by an actor who happened to be Sung-kyung's fan. Tae-sung panicked and quickly came up with an excuse, only for Yu Cheng to notice and rush over. Upon seeing Sung-kyung, he immediately figured out Tae-sung's intentions and helped them cover their tracks. Tae-sung couldn't understand why he kept running into people from the entertainment industry. Sung-kyung reassured him that Island was big and they wouldn't run into anyone again. To be safe, she even obtained the crew's schedule. For their first meal on the island, Tae-sung took Sung-kyung to a hidden restaurant. When they arrived, the entrance was packed with people. Upon checking, Sung-kyung discovered it was due to Yuna's team being there. The two then went to a canola flower field to take photos, but the production crew appeared there too, forcing them to hide. They ended up retreating to their car, where Yu Cheng showed up again to offer them food. He explained that the crew's schedule had changed and they'd be filming there all day. Jang sympathized with the couple, remarking how unfortunate it was that their date had been reduced to sitting in a car and that they might as well have stayed home. Determined, the two found a smaller flower field for photos. On the way back, Sung-kyung saw that news of Tae-sung's trip had leaked. When they arrived at their hotel, Sung-kyung, still worried about Tae-sung, suggested they stay in for dinner instead of going out. Tae-sung reassured Sung-kyung, promising she'd arranged for a secure and private place. At the restaurant, Sung-kyung was surprised to find her two best friends already waiting for them. It turned out that Tae-sung had secretly planned this. After the meal, everyone went off to spend time in their own little worlds. On their way back, Tae-sung and Sung-kyung saw a shooting star. Tae-sung made a wish to publicly declare Sung-kyung as her girlfriend to the whole world. The next morning, Tae-sung suggested they visit an orchid field for a walk. However, Sung-kyung informed him that the lawyers had already arrived there. Tae-sung then proposed visiting a secret forest, only to find Yu Cheng and his partner already there. Tae-sung suggested making couple mugs, but it turned out that a newlywed couple had already taken the spot. Left with no other options, they went to a secluded beach known as Goblin's Coast. Just as they arrived, Sung-kyung received a call from the media asking her to confirm rumors about her relationship with Tae-sung. After a moment's hesitation, she admitted the truth. Sung-kyung then turned to Tae-sung and asked directly, "Are you in love with me?" Tae-sung nodded in agreement. Standing from the company's perspective, Sung-kyung officially acknowledged their relationship. Looking into each other's eyes, Sung Kyung said, "I love you," to which Tae Sung replied, "I love you too." Though reluctant to leave the peaceful moments behind, they believed in the beauty of their love story. The end. Drop a heart if you love the story. We'll see each other in our next love story.